Hey guys, Ken here. It's been a couple weeks, 2 weeks exactly. I have been playing a lot of MMOs, especially WildStar and jumping around here and there. But I want to talk about one MMO I've actually finished all the way. Today we'll be talking about the Elder Scrolls Online. I have been playing this game till endgame, veteran rank. I did the world versus world. I played definitely more than 6 hours a day. It was tough, but I didn't just bypass quests. I actually listened to them and thoroughly played into the game. You can trust I put quite a bit of time into this from start to finish, so I'm going to definitely talk about the good points and some of the things that need work on. Before I get into anything else, the video you're watching is also a dungeon run, one of my personal favorite dungeons. This is the Tempest. The reason it is my favorite dungeon is because of the immersion factor in it. The trees look nice, the aesthetics, the environment, the sound, the stuff that's going on, and personally rain is one of my favorite weather, so I decided to show this dungeon. Aside from just RVR videos I did, I do enjoy the RVR a lot, but this will have to do. This is actually me at veteran rank. When I was a lower veteran rank, went back, helped a couple people, put a smile on their faces and ran them through dungeons, which is nice. Did some DPS and heals, you name it. So the first thing I'm going to talk about this game is the graphics of the game. The graphics is decent. It does fit the Elder Scrolls universe. However, it is not the best graphics I've ever seen, but it is well done. It's got the colors, it's got the shading, it's got the look. It looks like Elder Scrolls, okay? But the only thing is it's not as sharp as Elder Scrolls. However, the thing that I had a really big pet peeve on is how ugly the Daedric armor is. It's one of my favorite armors in the game, but they look like crap in this game. So that's the only complaint I have about it. And of course, that it's not the best graphics I've ever seen, but it'll have to do, especially since it is an MMORPG. So it is quite decent. The one thing I would definitely applaud this game for is the atmosphere is well done for the game. You can definitely see the animals running around, the weather effects, and the coloration, the dark mood. It feels like an Elder Scroll game. That's what it should do, and it does. The only problem is it's got immersion, and yet it doesn't have immersion. The biggest thing about this is because it breaks immersion at various points of the game. There's a lot of places where the game breaks a lot of immersion. For me, it doesn't feel like in a very immersive game as a standalone Elder Scroll game. Next, I'm going to get into the music and sound effects of the game. It is also very nice. I love the sound effect of each zone. I love the aesthetics, especially in the environments. You can hear the crickets chirping, squirrels skittering around, you name it. The music places for each of the zones is really well done. The other thing I love the most, my personal favorite, is the battle music in RVR. Battle music is very epic, exhilarating, and inspiring. So I love it when you can hear those type of music when you're battling hundreds of other players with hundreds of other players behind you, and it makes it feel like an epic war when you do so. Aside from all that, the quest itself, every single quest you play in this game is actually voiced by different people. The voice acting is really well done for each of the characters. However, the only pet peeve I have about the voice acting is the fact that some of the voice actors you can tell are the same people, especially in certain zones. And sometimes the NPC that has a certain voice, you'll hear him talking to another guy that's like right next to you, who's voiced by the same guy. So it breaks immersion at that point for me, especially since it's voiced by the same people. And sometimes I can just hear it, so that part about it is like, But aside from that, they put a lot of work into each of the characters they played, so I give them props for that. Sometimes the voices to the NPCs don't match the certain NPC, and sometimes also the voices overlap each other. You'll hear like a certain tone to the character, and all of a sudden the tone changes. It's really weird. You'll think it's voiced by two different people sometimes. So I noticed that about it, but it was a small mistake. It wasn't too big of a deal, so I ignored a lot of those. And it was rare on occasion when it happened, but I just wanted to point that out. And like I said before, because of that, since the actor does put their effort into the acting, especially in terms of the story, I would listen to every single quest in this game. I went from the beginning to end. I listened to different areas of the land to quest, and I do get immersed into it because of that. The biggest reason, because definitely the voice acting gives it a really nice feeling to the story. It makes you want to listen to it. It makes you want to know what's going on. So I've listened to every single quest. Some of the quests are okay, some of the quests are really well done, and then others are just falling short. Most of the theme are always, you know, someone betraying someone and backstabbing and then saving other things. Most of the quests are X to Y, you know, you go from one place to the next, but they're always coded with like a reason why. There's a lot of lore behind the quests you do, like the Elder Scrolls games, so you're not doing a quest for no reason. Aside from the quest system being full and rich of lore, the other thing I love about this is that you are given choices during the quest, and depending on your choices, it can shape the things around you and it can make people look at you differently. For example, you know, if you decide to save this town or is the castle under siege by werewolves, all the werewolves are definitely going to disappear later on when you come back to the zone, and all the mobs disappear, so you won't see them again. It becomes a really peaceful zone. The other thing is that, you know, say you pick a bad choice or a good choice. If you pick a positive choice or a negative choice, the outcome will actually affect the people around you. When you run around town, NPCs will shout out your victories, or they will shout at you and say shame on you. You know, you'll hear a lot about that on what you've done, so it does come back to bite you a bit. But however, it doesn't last in the long term, especially when you run into veteran mode, because when you go to the other land, you kind of forget about your, you know, what you did, but it stays there permanently. I'll talk about that later on when we talk about veteran mode. Now, when I started playing this game, I've heard about mods. The confusing thing for people is that they think you can mod the game and change the graphics up. Not really. What you're changing is basically interface mods. It's easy to install add-ons. You know, the whole interface itself, the beginning interface is very clean. But the problem is that it's so clean that you need to add more stuff to it to get any benefit out of anything. But it does have very nice menus you can drag around, easy to install add-ons and mods. What you're watching from mine is basically add-ons, some of the nicer add-ons you can find. Mine is basically just a couple steps or simple add-ons I found on the website ESO UI, so it's nothing too complicating. I like it this way. It looks really nice, so you can make the add-ons and the interface look the way you want. Thing I'll say about the combat is I do like the combat. It is quite nice. However, it is not exactly like Skyrim or the other Elder Scrolls game. You gotta remember and keep in mind that this is an MMORPG game. It's not gonna be exactly like the Elder Scrolls game itself, but it is very close resemblance. So just keep that in mind. It is a bit watered down in terms of the combat. The tap targeting does exist, and you know, there's things I like about the combat, especially the fact that there is no global cooldown. As long as you have stamina and you have mana, you can keep shooting it off. So basically, the more you invest in those, the more skills you can use and the more damage you can do. But because of, like, you know, the way that the damage is done or the way combat works, it does lose some of the immersion also. I do love the fact that you can swap weapons, because you can only have so many skills you can choose on your bar. There's a ton of skills you can use, especially since it depends on your class, you know, your race, or if you're a vampire or a werewolf. I'm a vampire, so I got a bunch of other skills I could use. Vampires are OP right now, but there's a lot of skills in this game that needs a little bit of retweaking. But other than that, the weapon swapping is really cool and nice, because one minute you can be using a bow with a different set of skills, the next you can be taking out a staff and start doing destruction skill, maybe a bit of healing on the side. You know, I like to switch between damage and heal, so I swap a lot of my weapons, but you have to choose your skills carefully, because you can't just, you know, swap skills anytime you want. You're limited in terms of what skills you carry, so you have to choose carefully what you want. Which leads me to talk about the combat tree in this game, which is really interesting. Depending on your class, your race, etc., you have different skills and passive that really helps. The skills in this game are earned through a lot of different ways. One of the ways is finding these little shards all over the maps and basically just leveling up and doing the story. You earn skill points and you put into your skills. There's crafting skills, there's skills for, you know, different weapons, there's a bunch of trees you can go down, so it gives you a variety of choices when you pick a skill for that playstyle you want. So basically, the way you play the game is your playstyle. So for example, when you're watching my character, you see some vampire skills, you see some bow skills, you see staff skill, and you see the mage skills. And then you see the benefits I get from the mage skills because I'm an elf. So there are different passives and abilities that go together, which makes it really interesting. Especially in terms of the skill tree. So for example, if you say level up a certain skill, it'll either let you stun your enemies when you hit them, or lets you basically do more damage. So would you rather have a stun or do more damage? And you have to pick a choice. So a skill can evolve into two different paths, and from there you get to choose the evolution and determine the play style you want. And keep in mind that it is pretty expensive to respec skills, because once you have a lot of skills, it's going to cost a lot of gold to actually respect them. And of course, like I mentioned before, some of the skills need a little bit of tweaking, so some of them are OP in certain places, definitely overpowered, but once they tweak that out, it'll be nicer. But the good news is they are getting fixed, so it's really cool. The one thing I also hate about this game is the market was really confusing, because you never know what the price of an item is. You have to set your own price, so you can never tell what its value is. You have to make up your own value, and it was hard because at times you'll just be sitting there in the channel shouting, certain things. Hey, you want to sell this loot that you found in this place, and then people are like, how much? And you're like, I don't know the value. I mean, how about 1,500 gold? And they'll be like, nah, I can get that for 500. So it's really bartering type of system when you sell out loud. You kind of have to join a guild to actually sell to people on an auction house, which is an in-guild auction house. Aside from that, you get a lot of golds. Of course, gold spams. They happen everywhere in every game, and especially in this game, it's much worse because they do it in every single place. But I got over that with a certain add-on that blocks gold seller. But the only problem is it blocks other normal players too sometimes. So it's a little bit of a double-edged sword there. Aside from that, you can join about 5 different guilds in this game, so you can have 5 different guilds to sell stuff in. Now the problem with this is you need to join a really big trading guild to actually get any selling done. The only confusing thing I had about this game is the prices of items. So the market was really didn't like the market too much. It wasn't my thing. And the other thing is I didn't like the crafting too much because I never caught up with the crafting. Didn't like the farming. So it wasn't really interesting in terms of the crafting, because all you do is break stuff down to actually level it up, or you basically craft certain things multiple times, break it down again, so on and so on. But the best way to do it to catch up is to break it down and buy the mats and keep crafting. And it's really hard for some of them. The only crafting I actually managed to max out really quick is the provisions, the food. The other stuff I just kind of went. So I didn't bother crafting in the game too much. I just broke down items to level it up as much as I needed. The only real thing about that is when you make an item superior to itself, all you have to do is upgrade it. And when you upgrade it, you get a little bit of stats upgrade and basically change its color, and then you can resell it. So a lot of people didn't know that. I took advantage of that by doing low levels upgrade to purple items, and I made some low level items purple and I sold it for higher prices, and people actually bought it. So whatever, it works. Another advice I find is that it was really pointless to buy gear every level, because every 2 levels you would upgrade your gear. Seriously, so don't buy too much gear. I mean, sometimes you can find a gear you'll use for 9 levels, but that's it. Another thing is I did pay $20 for the Imperial version of the game, just to get the Imperial skins to see how they look. They're not so pretty, it wasn't worth it. And the other thing that I paid for was the horse, because it was a pain to earn gold just to get the expensive mount, because it costs a lot of gold to get a horse. And once you get the horse, there was another downside to it. Another thing, a big gripe for me, was that there was a massive bug at one point in the game during the first few weeks. Was there's a huge glitching problem, and due to a little bug, people were able to glitch a lot of stuff, and some of them haven't even been caught. I've heard personally from different players, some of them saying, hey, they got rid of the glitch, and they told me how it worked and what happened. I didn't personally do it myself because I hate cheating. But the other thing is I've also heard that some of these people haven't been caught, which kind of sucks. It made me feel even more down playing the game. I won't divulge their private information because me, I'm not that kind of person, Connor. But anyways, to sum it up, some of the things I don't like about the game is the fact that a lot of the immersion, which is really important for me, is broken throughout the game due to various things. I guess because when you play certain dungeons in the game, you end up with bosses that sound really epic, and you kill them in like 2 shots, or you get help from other players when you're trying to hunt for a boss. You hear this long story of what's going to happen, and then you walk into the throne room, there's the guy, you try to hit him, and then you find another player coming in with you, and he beats up the player for you, and you're sitting there like, okay, I just did the quest. Because You know, there's no such thing as stealing mobs from other players, and a lot of times the instants are shared, which kind of really, I think it's stupid, because it ruins the immersion right there. Since you're killing a boss and some guy just steps in, he goes, hey, you know, I'm gonna kill this boss first. Boop boop, boss dies. You walk out with the quest complete. You didn't even touch the boss. Maybe like you I don't know, rubbed him once. But that really breaks immersion for a lot of people. So that's one aspect of the game I didn't like. And another thing I didn't like is the bugs that surrounded this game. Like I said before, a lot of people say, oh, it's their first MMO, you're gonna experience bugs. Yes, but, and then I'm gonna say it again, it was at a very, you know, it wasn't really polished. The game isn't polished, and hopefully they will polish up these bugs before I come back and give it a try again. But you know, it's probably too late now for a lot of the major quests that were bugged out for me. I couldn't get anything done, so I kind of skipped those quests a little bit and then came back to it later. I found that they patched some of them up, which is nice, but there was still a lot of them where it wasn't working correctly, so that's a downer for me. Anyways, to sum it up, guys, I do like a lot of aspects of this game, and I do hate a lot of things about it, but unfortunately it is a new game, so you have to give it a break. You know, people know that, you know, when the first thing about starting an MMO for the first month or first couple 2 months or so is you're going to experience all this stuff, but overall it was at a, I guess it was just too many of it to keep me interested in the game, especially since a lot of things were just like immersion breaking, like I said before, and a lot of things need a lot of patching and fixes before it becomes a better game. The thing that people ask me the most is, are you going to pay 15 bucks a month to play this game? I will give you the answer to this question right now is no. I will not pay 15 bucks a month, because the only exceptional content in this game is probably the dungeons, which are nice. There's only a couple, there's not even that much, and they go off your list when you reach higher levels. It's really just like one dungeon you farm over and over again at veteran rank 10. And then there's the RVR content, which is the realm versus realm. The thing I love about this is that it reminds me of Dark Age of Camelot. I get a lot of nostalgic feelings from that. I love the RVR, it is well done. The siege combat is fun. You know, it's fun to zerg the other enemy team with an army of your own, but eventually that gets boring really quick. So that's why I decided that 15 bucks a month is not worth it for this game, especially in terms of the amount of content it has. Hopefully they add a lot more content to it and make it a lot more fun in the future, but as the way things going, I went ahead and canceled my subscription after 30 days, and will I be coming back to it? I don't know. Now again, the game is interesting, it has potential, it was fun at some points for me, but it needed a lot more polishing, and that was the biggest problem to the game, is polishing. There wasn't enough time to it, so hopefully in the future we'll see a really polished game, and the content will be nice, because if the content is good, it'll bring the players back. If it's not, it's gonna either make or break the game into free to play. I don't know what the future will hold. I'm not from the future, so we'll have to wait and see what's gonna happen. So I'll see you guys next time, and thanks for listening. You know, remember to favorite, follow, whatever, but you know, check out my stream also, and you can see more gameplays from there. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me, but other than that, you know, keep gaming and game on.